do the step. No.
Down goes Ramirez.
Ramirez.
Or Anderson.
Nice.
Shit.
Let's start that way. All right, stepping up to the plate is the Worst Baseball Podcast, and Noah.
Down goes Anderson.
He just said down goes Ramirez. I don't know if I'm going to include that in the video or not, but he got it wrong the first time through, and that's what's important. Why is your chair so low?
I don't know.
You look. I don't get me wrong. I enjoy looking down on you, but for the sake of the clips and the
Can we
people
start
watching,
over? Can I switch my chair? No, I'll switch my chair live. I'm listening and talking.
All right, I'm gonna keep introing here. We got some amazing stuff. Oh, it's gonna be so loud.
No, it's not.
Rest in peace to everybody's ears. I think it will be. You're close to the mic over there, not over here. I don't know.
Let's talk about
this
baseball.
This is a wreck already, as per usual.
I'm switching chairs. Tim Anderson should be switching careers.
Yes, but not to boxing.
Not to boxing.
We got some stuff to talk about today. Our itinerary is so. Oh my Jesus God. We came up with this method for ranking teams for their position as a franchise for the future.
It's about sustainability.
Yeah, sustainability. You know, we're not talking like 10 years down the line. There's no predicting that. But, you know, like the next several seasons, what these teams look like. And we agreed on a few parameters. And we decided to choose the weighting for it ourselves. You'll see what we mean when we get into it. But bear with us. We ranked every team from 30 to 1 based on their position as a franchise, just sustainability, how good they're going to be for the long haul, not just this season, the long haul. And we have them ranked. We have our own individual rankings. It's scientific. We used math.
We are essentially ranking from 30 to 1 which MLB franchises are set up worst for the future, best for the future. You know, where is their position in the league when it comes to, you know, current roster, like longevity, player control, prospects, ownership, vibes, all that stuff packed into one. We are basically ranking from 30 to 1 which franchise we would like to be, which franchises are in the best position as a fan, where we would like to be, what franchises we would like to be a fan of, kind of.
We might as well just tell them what the categories are. So,
yeah.
Okay, so we chose 4 categories. Category 1 was how are they performing in the current season right now. Category 2 was their longevity with their current roster, players that are expected or to be on the team for a long time or are signed to contracts with no reasonable expectation that they would be leaving the team anytime soon. The third category considered was their core of prospects, what that future looks like in terms of speculation, who will be playing for this team in a few years based on who's in their farm right now. And our last category that we considered was ownership / front office. So that's everything from, you know, considering just like public image of this, of the ownership, you know, if it's a guy like, for example, Artie Moreno of the Angels, he's the name.
Might get to him rather quickly.
We probably will. He's a name that's thrown around a lot as being one of the worst owners in baseball, and for good reason. But then you have teams like Tampa Bay, who's notorious for having a very strong front office. But the downside to Tampa Bay is that they don't spend a lot of money in free agency. So we took it all into account. So just a reminder, current season, roster longevity, prospects, front office / ownership. And we each gave our own weighting to each of those categories based on how important we thought they were for the sake of this exercise. So for example, I ranked current season that's out of 4 points. Current team longevity out of 14 points, because for sustainability, it doesn't really matter what they're doing right now. We're talking about for the long haul. So current team longevity was 14 points out of 14 points. You can reward a team up to the maximum number of points that you allot them. And then prospect core was 10, and ownership and front office was 8. So current season for me 4, current team longevity 14, prospects 10, and ownership 8.
Yeah, so I got, my scale was I put current season with a weight of 6 points, current team longevity 15 points, prospect core 12 points, willingness to spend, or ownership in general 10 points. So I mean, pretty similar, a little bit of difference here and there, but just overall, you know, kind of weight and percentage.
Yes.
It pretty much comes out to the same. I mean, I think I weighted prospects a little bit more, and you weighted, you know, longevity a little bit more to scale. So, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. We have our own barometers, but that's what makes this exercise interesting. It's kind of like where we would like to be positioned as a franchise, and some things might matter more to others, and that's part of the argument.
Absolutely. So I think we should just get right into it.
Let's do it.
This week we're going to give you our bottom 10. We're going from 30 to 20. Next week we're going to do 21.
We're doing 30 to 21. Next week 20 to 11.
20 to 11, exactly. I have a couple ties in there, so my numbers are thrown off. But yeah, we're going to rapid fire, kind of like how we did for our make or miss playoff teams last episode.
Get the clock ready.
Yeah, get that clock ready. 1 minute each, going back and forth, explaining our selections. Who goes first?
Start us off.
All right, I'll start us off. Number 30 team with the worst outlook for the future. This shouldn't be a surprise, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Oakland Athletics. The GM in the front office absolutely buried this team for me. Artie Moreno, nope, that's the wrong one. I'm reading the wrong one. They have nearly no talent. It's hard to pick a player on this team to build around. I mean, you have Estuary Ruiz, but he's not like a franchise.
Are you building a franchise around him? No, you're not.
No, absolutely not. Brent Rooker, he's a solid player, don't get me wrong, but again, not a guy you build a franchise around. This is the only team I gave a 0-2 in the longevity category. Their best prospects are Tyler Soderstrom and Mason Miller, who rank 31st and 71st, respectively, on MLB Pipeline's list. And they're both in the majors right now, but they have nobody beyond that. And obviously, they're not making that much of an impact yet because the A's are the worst team in baseball. My GM front office rating is a 3 because I only have hope that when they relocate, that will push them to compete. But right now, they're the worst for me, number 30.
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard not to imagine the Oakland A's not last in any considerable category dealing with baseball, but I'm not going to have them last. I'm going to have the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim 30th. They are an inept organization. Inept.
SAT word.
There's no other word. Bad is not. It's not good enough to describe them. They have the worst farm in baseball. They have the worst owner in baseball. Their farm is horrible now because they traded up their second and third best prospect for Lucas Giolito for half a year. They're not going to make the playoffs. I doubt they're going to re-sign him. They could have sold Ohtani, and they could have sold in general at the deadline, had a top 15 farm. They didn't. They have no farm anymore. They're going to miss the playoffs this year. They're going to lose their best assets for free, and Artie Moreno is their owner. I mean, they have no path to being good anytime soon. They're a laughingstock, and they're just a 0. They are a 0 as a franchise right now. I think they're in the worst spot of any team in the league.
I mean, I'm not far off. I think we're flip-flopping our 30 and 29 because the 29 for me is the Angels. This is the one where GM front office buried them. I mean, not that it was much better for the A's, but anyway, Artie Moreno, evil, should be banned from baseball. He's absolutely no interest in winning, and it's criminal that he's never cared to put a winning team on the field around two of the biggest stars that we've seen in decades in Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. Trout, that being there, still signing a long contract, does bring that longevity up to a score of 4 out of 14 for me. But aside from that, they've got nobody promising, almost absolutely no pitching depth, and their prospects are pretty much washed, just one in the top 100. Like Noah said, there's not a lot to add on. This team is going absolutely nowhere anytime soon, and Ohtani's going to walk, Trout's getting old. They're hopeless. They're like really hopeless.
They have no outs. They have no path to contending anytime soon. Speaking of no path to contending anytime soon, my 29th team, we did flip-flop. I have the Oakland A's. Where the Angels have 0 glimmers of hope, the Athletics have 1. The Athletics are like that person who just grew up in the wrong place. And they're in high school and nothing's going right, and it's like, all right, like nothing is going right, but there's still the chance that you could move and start over and maybe get lucky and maybe have a nice life. That's what the A's are doing right now. I mean, they're wasting their time in
high school,
college, high school, whatever. They're wasting their time in Oakland right now. I mean, they're a 0 in almost every category. I have a 0 for their current season, of course. 0 for their longevity, of course. 0 for their ownership, of course. They have a 3 out of 12 in their prospect core. Their prospects aren't bad, and they can start over in Las Vegas. That's really their only hope. Hopefully, have new life, new money. I do like Mason Miller a lot. I think he's going to be the face of their pitching staff in Las Vegas or Oakland. So I'll have him 29.
Oh, we didn't want to hear that.
Did we? All right, who do you have 28?
28 for me.
I'm pushing this up to 70 seconds.
No, we're sticking to
All right,
60. What's
okay.
wrong with you? You
Okay.
can't go switching things up on me like that.
Okay.
Blindsiding me?
Okay, I ran it by you, but we're wasting time. That's 10 seconds I could have been talking about your 2018. Talk about your 2018.
The Colorado Rockies, they have a bad current roster. They have a bad future roster. They have a bad ownership. There's nothing, again, a team that has very, very little hope for me. I hate to break it to you, Colorado, but you need pitching to win baseball games, and that's something this organization has never valued whatsoever. They haven't had a good pitcher since Ubaldo Jimenez, and he's not even in the majors anymore. I mean, they have a few promising young prospects, but there's never a guarantee that they're going to be enough to get this team where they want to go. And frankly, I don't think 2 solid prospects is enough to get you there anyway, no matter who they are. Obviously, baseball doesn't work in twos because we have Trout and Ohtani and the Angels. That has not worked out. They're never big spenders in free agency, and the splash that they have made recently was Chris Bryant. That was entirely misguided. There's nothing to look forward to with this team. They're boring. Nobody excites me. The best thing you can say about them is their stadium is nice.
They do have a nice stadium, and we're gonna agree again. They're my 28th team. I think you put it well. You put a lot of things I had written down. I mean, the Colorado Rockies are not a public embarrassment to the level of the teams around them, but at the same time, like the teams around them, they just have zero to look forward to, zero path to contention anytime soon. I had the exact same thing written down. I mean, until the Colorado Rockies can develop one good, consistent starter in franchise history, they're not even close. And they have 2 decent prospects, like in the top 60 right now. But I mean, that's their only thing that's not horrible right now. They have bad ownership. They have a bad roster currently, and they have bad roster longevity. Their current season's bad, but their prospects are okay. They're a middling farm system, and for that's enough to kind of knock them over the worst organizations in the league. But they're still one of the worst organizations in the league, and there's really no path to that changing anytime soon.
I gotta agree with you. I think there's a good chance we agree on the next few. At number 26, tied for 26 though, I have the Chicago White Sox. Things have gotten bad with this team, and I only see them getting worse. The only thing bringing the longevity score up to 5 out of 14 for me is Luis Robert, and he's the only guy that I really care to see on this team for any extended period of time.
What about Dylan Cease?
I mean, yes, sure. Ideally, it would be nice for them to have 1 star pitcher and 1 star hitter on their team, but if I had to pick one, it would be Robert. The team's chemistry is obviously terrible. Some of the worst ownership in baseball. There's no clubhouse, like any clubhouse culture is negative. I mean, look at what's coming out with Grandal and Anderson. It's a mess. It's totally a mess. Totally clueless GM and Rick Hahn. There's more potential for fast change than the teams below them on this list for me. But it's still a long shot. I got the White Sox at tied for 26. Hold on just 60 seconds to see who I have tied with them.
Good segue. Keep the good hook. We're going to agree again. I don't like how much we're agreeing because I've said this before, but it makes me feel wrong. I have the Chicago White Sox. I mean, like you said, the vibes in that organization are at an all-time low, and that's the same organization that hired a 97-year-old within the past year and a half, and then he promptly got a DUI. So, the vibes have been pretty bad, and they're somehow worse than they were. Like you said, I mean, the difference between this team and the rest of the teams near them are they do have 2 really talented pieces, Luis Robert and Dylan Cease. But I don't trust this organization to do what's right, make the smart moves and put talent around them or sell them off for a total rebuild. I just don't trust them. They have horrible ownership. They're having one of the most disappointing seasons in the league. Their roster, I mean, Cease isn't even under team control for that long, so their roster longevity is not, super high. I put it at a 6 out of 15, but there's so much wrong with this team. They need to burn it to the ground.
That was brutal. Tied with the Royals for me. I just ruined it. I had such a good segue and I ruined it. Tied with the White Sox is the Kansas City Royals. Despite this season being atrocious, I really do like the young core that this team has. Bobby Witt's going to be around for a long time. Brady Singer still has huge promises, shown flashes of it. Vinny P's going to come back strong. You got guys like Prado, Garcia, Melendez, Isbell. I like this core that they have, and I was expecting this team to at least be a step above where they are at this point. But those guys all need to pan out because it stops there. The Royals have 0 prospects in the top 100 according to MLB Pipeline. It's a non-existent farm system. So even if these young players do ball out, and they just don't have the depth, especially in the pitching department, to make meaningful improvement. a free agent splash could definitely change this team's outlook in the next couple of years, but it's Kansas City. I just don't see it happening. It's not the team that they are. It's not how they operate. They don't have the money to play with the big dogs. So as they stand right now, they got to be pretty low for me.
Yeah, I mean, we agree again. I have the Royals 26. I will say I don't.
It's a copycat.
I think the Royals are better in a better position than the Chicago White Sox. I mean,
yeah.
I think Bobby Witt Jr. is. Well, you had him tied.
I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, Bobby Witt Jr. is, I think, going to be one of the best players in Major League Baseball pretty soon. Like one of the faces of the league. Yeah, like you said, Singer, Vinny P. I mean, they have some decent pieces. Garcia's been a pretty big bright spot this year. I like the longevity. I don't like the longevity of their current roster, but I don't hate it. It's definitely better than I think Chicago or Colorado or Oakland or LA right now. Like I could see them taking their slow time, but contending in a long time with this current core. But I don't trust. I mean, they're not going to spend money to put the pieces around, and we know it. The farm is really bad. The team is really bad, so they're pretty low.
Man, we're really just hammering down on the AL Central here because my next team is the Detroit Tigers. What do you have them the same one?
I have the Tigers, and my first line was going to be about the AL Central.
We're in sync today. I mean, it's always seemed to me like it's going to happen with the Tigers, but it just never does. You know, none of these prospects that they've had in the past decade have panned out, dating all the way back to guys like Michael Fulmer and Dixon Machado. Like, I remember hearing about these guys' names. I'm like, oh, wow, the Tigers are finally going to be good, but they weren't. And then you move forward to the prospect crop of Matt Manning and Casey Mize, and those guys haven't panned out. And now you have Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson, and those guys aren't playing to the level that we thought they were either. It just doesn't happen for the Tigers. The game plan is there, but the execution and the result on the field has been terrible. And now they're in a place with, guys like Javi Baez sucking up the air out of the room and not giving chance to young guys that could potentially come through. I just don't have any faith in this team improving anytime soon, so they're pretty low for me.
Yeah, well, I got them in the same spot. I do think there's a little separation. I agree with a lot of what you said. It's hard to really have faith in their prospects, but I think there is a little separation with Kansas City just because they do have the better farm system. And I'm not giving up on Torkelson or Riley Green. I mean, Riley Green hasn't been horrible this year. And Torkelson, obviously, a major disappointment. I'm not going to give up on those guys. But yeah, it's kind of, the process in which we've seen the Tigers mess up their prospects that makes you kind of not a believer. I do like Colt Keith and Jace Jung. I might be higher on them if they were in different organizations. But, as long as this team keeps running themselves out of games and hands out some of the worst contracts in the sport, they're going to be pretty low. But that doesn't mean I don't think they can build around this current core players in their organization. I really like Tarek Skubal and Alex Lange. Both of those guys are legitimate arms, and if their prospects hit, those guys keep pitching, and Torkelson and Green turn it around, I mean, this could be a team back to the middle of the pack.
I don't entirely disagree with you, but coming in at 24 for me is the St. Louis Cardinals. They got young prospects that bring this aging team above rock bottom for me. But it's another squad with absolutely no promising pitching, and I'm sensing this theme at this bottom half of the list. Bottom third, really. The best thing that I can say is that if they commit themselves to signing more key free agents in a couple of years, and they have the resources, they're big market enough to do that, then, and those combined with their current youngsters like Jordan Walker, Mason Wynn, then they can put a competitive team back on the field. But as they stand right now, the future is pretty bleak. I can't completely count on them making that splash, but Arenado's getting older, Goldschmidt's getting older. I think those guys' best days are behind them, even though Goldie just won MVP last year. I just don't love what I see from this team, especially as far as pitching goes.
Do you want to guess my 24th team?
I would have an inkling that it's the St. Louis Cardinals.
Ding, ding, ding. It is the St. Louis Cardinals. This is, though, I want to be clear.
This is ridiculous. We're just going back and forth, just like bouncing. I see your next one, too, and we got the same one.
Oh, God. No, but this is the beginning of the next tier. I think they're in a much better position than Detroit. They're not in too dire of a situation. They're not. I think the 6 teams we mentioned so far are in dire situations. The Cardinals, they have Arenado under control for a while. Paul Goldschmidt's going to be off the books before he's a real liability.
That's fair.
Just because Jordan Walker's had a disappointing rookie year, he's not Spencer Torkelson.
He hasn't gotten consistent playing.
Exactly. I mean, we see the bat skills for sure at the major league level. But they have a below average team. They have a below average farm system. The vibes are off. They should have they did a pretty good job selling off at the deadline, but I would have gone even further. And like you said, they need more pitching. But the ownership can spend, and they have pieces. So it's not totally dire.
I agree with you that this is like kind of the beginning of the next year, because I would not put the Cardinals and the Tigers, the Cardinals and the Royals in the same realm. And right in there for me is the Twins, because they do have a few good players to build around for the future. They got Correa, they got Buxton, they got Joe Ryan, they got Alex Kirilloff, who I still believe in. But there's just not much of a farm system there past the guys we've seen come up recently. And there's not much to be said for their front office in terms of spending habits. The only reason they got Correa is because of the saga that occurred in the offseason. They're able to get him at a discount. But Minnesota's never a serious place that free agents consider. And I don't know, things could be worse for this team, but they could also be a lot better. This is really kind of that range where we're getting like tougher, closer calls from me. But Minnesota kind of is ranking towards the bottom.
Yeah, I have the Twins here too, of course, because you did. The Twins have an elite starting rotation. Their entire division sold at the deadline. All they're going to have to do to make the playoffs is finish above 500. They might not even have to do that. But the problem is the Twins are stuck in no man's land. They are miles away from being a contender, one of the best teams in the league, a World Series, contender. Like they just are. They're stuck in the middle like they've always been, because they can't attract free agents and they don't have great ownership and their prospects aren't that good. And sure, their rotation is really good right now, but they aren't able to have the bats around them. And the Correa contract is horrible. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Twins make the playoffs the next few years, but they're just not even close to having a sustainable, dominance in the sport. They're just ways away, and they need more prospects. And yeah, I'm pretty down on them as an organization.
Next one for me might come as somewhat of a surprise, but it shouldn't be. It's the New York Yankees. I am a self-proclaimed Yankees hater because this team has money, but they spend it wrong. Josh Donaldson, Giancarlo Stanton, even DJ LeMahieu. I considered 2025 in this list, but he's going to be 36 years old. The organization needs serious change. Obviously, there's a foundation for success with Judge and Cole, and even throw Anthony Volpe in there. He's still a promising player. And, Jason Dominguez has shown that he has developed the way that people were hoping. But if the Yankees seem content with just competing enough to stay above 500 every year and not really moving past that. The farm system isn't deep, and they keep selling prospects to make smaller moves that aren't going to actually get them anywhere. They show that they don't know how to spend money. They haven't done it well since 2009. It's not the worst spot to be because you are the Yankees, but for the Yankees, it's pretty disappointing. Ooh, buzzer beater.
Let's review that. We're finally diverting past. I have the Arizona Diamondbacks here at 22.
Okay, I have them considerably higher.
Okay, I have the Yankees considerably higher. The D-backs are free-falling right now, but that's not really why I have them here. On paper, I think your reaction is that they're a little too low, just because they have that franchise cornerstone hitter, that franchise cornerstone pitcher. But their problem in every asset or facet of their organization is depth. They don't have the depth in the starting rotation behind Gallen. They don't have the depth longevity-wise behind Carroll. You have nice fine pieces like Gurriel, Walker, Perdomo, but I just don't trust those guys, over the next 5-10 years. They have a few really highly ranked prospects, but they have no depth in their farm system. They've struck out in all these big contracts. Every single big contract they've handed out has been pretty horrible over the course of the last 5-10 years. And I just don't trust this organization to take advantage of Corbin Carroll and Zach Gallen and put the depth around him.
Well, we're going to have to wait to hear my thoughts on the Diamondbacks. But for right now, actually the Yankees' rival in the Red Sox. There you got this low because I just do not believe in Chaim Bloom. He's one of those guys that everybody praises as being a genius, but he's just too smart for his own good. He's not a baseball guy, in my opinion, and it just shows. Aside from Devers and Yoshida, there's not a lot that I look forward to on this team. There's not a lot that excites me. The farm system is pretty trash, aside from Marcelo Meyer, who's ranked as number 3 on MLB Pipeline. They're willing to spend. I just don't like who's in charge.
Are they really willing to spend, though? A little. They're not willing to spend.
Trevor Stories, the Chris Sales.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
The
I
David
guess.
Prices, they have a history of spending, but look at these guys, they haven't gotten them.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, they won a World Series with Chris Sale, but...
That's not Heim Bloom, though.
No, exactly. And, they have high potential to shoot up this list if they make good moves, but as they stand right now, I don't have any real reason to believe that the Red Sox are going to be consistent competitors over the next 5-10 years.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't have the Red Sox that much higher, and kind of a lot of things you laid out, but we'll get to that.
So they're tied for 20 for me. They're tied for 20,
Gonna have
so
to
we're going to have to wait to see the other half.
Gonna have to wait. Yeah, my last team of the day, my 21st team, no ties. I have the Washington Nationals here.
Sad.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm gonna praise the Nationals a little bit, even though they're 21. The Nationals are rebuilding, but they're doing it well. It's gonna take a while. It's gonna take a long time. But that is the correct decision. That is the correct path for this franchise. To just kind of strip it down, which they did, and build around some guys. And they have nice pieces at the big league level that have proved themselves a little bit this year, especially C.J. Abrams. And then arms like Gore and Gray look like they can be arms for a while. They have nice pieces in the farm. James Wood just drafted Dylan Cruz. And they're going to take their time. It might be a while. But I also trust their ownership to, when the time comes, be willing to spend money a little bit and to make the savvy moves that are kind of required to contend. But my main thing is that's just a ways away. So they're kind of, in this 20 to 25 tier, number 21, because I think they're doing the right thing, but I think it's going to take a while.
I agree with practically everything you said about the Nats. I really like the way you approached that one. I have similar points that we will hear soon. I have them a little bit higher than you do. But
20 to 11.
20 to 11.
Great year, 2011. Coming next year, for next 2 weeks.
What happened in 2011 that was so great?
Just vibes, great vibes.
Being 11 years old?
10 for half the year.
I guess so. All right.
I moved on from 10 to 11.
You sure did.
Let's move on to our next segment.
I love the transition. Okay, so one of the hottest discussions in baseball right now, I would say, outside of current events, is the very close race for National League MVP with Ronald Acuña and Freddie Freeman. We were discussing this amongst ourselves before we even decided what to put on the podcast, and I was taking the side of Acuña, and Noah was taking the side of Freddie Freeman. So we're like, you know what? Let's build a case. Let's go back and forth. Take just 5-10 minutes, hash this out, see what we can decide. Who is the true frontrunner for National League MVP? I went first in the first segment of today's episode. So you know what? I'll let you pitch your opening statements for Freddie Freeman for National League MVP.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say there's a front runner for National League MVP, but I guess that's an argument at this point based on the media and what's been said and the odds. That's an argument for Freddie Freeman to say that in itself. I think at this point, I think Freddie Freeman has had every bit as good of a year, or even better of a year, than Ronald Acuña. I mean, Freddie Freeman has been the best player in the league for the past month.
Month. I thought you were, for some reason I thought you were going to say
month. For the past month. I mean, the guy has dominated since the All-Star break. His on-base percentage is .505. He's hitting .444.
All right, I feel like the All-Star break was 2 weeks ago.
Okay, but his first half wasn't that far off. I mean, he has been the better player over the last few weeks. And I mean, the stats are, he's got a higher OPS. He leads the National League in OPS. He's got a higher WRC+. His WAR is just right there with Acuña's. I mean, I think these guys are really close. Of course, Acuña has the stolen bases. They're close, but I think Freeman, I would give it to Freeman if the season ended right now. Acuña's got the stolen bases, but besides that, I think Freeman really has the edge.
What's Freeman slugging in the second half? Or what's his OPS?
Oh, on base percentage?
OPS.
I could look it up.
Yeah,
why?
Just because you were just saying that he's had a better second half, and I don't necessarily.
I would definitely say he's had a better second half.
I don't think I agree with that.
All right, give me your case.
Okay, well, I mean, disregarding just the second half for now, for me, it's Acuña all the way. And I will give it to you that they are very close in a lot of categories, but Ronald Acuña has 53 stolen bases. I mean, he's going to put up a 60-30 season with ease. I mean, that's pretty unreal. That's something we haven't seen in a very long time, if ever. I don't even know. If someone fact check me on that. You're going to say that Freeman's slugging a little bit higher, but it's a very minuscule difference. Acuña's slugging .582 on the season. Freddie's slugging .595 as of today, Tuesday, August 8th at 6 p.m. any small areas where Acuña lapses for me or falls short to Freeman, he makes up for in that speed, in those stolen bases. And you got to remember that Ronald Acuña is an outfielder. I think that brings a whole other level of value to him as a player, and we are literally talking about value here.
We're talking about value. The Atlanta Braves would be just fine. The Dodgers would be much worse without Freddie Freeman.
I was thinking about this, and I don't necessarily think that either player has a stronger takeaway. Well, the thing is, okay, you have four, between these two teams, you have four serious guys who you consider in like top 5 MVP voting. You got Acuña and Freeman, obviously, and then you got Olsen with the Braves and Betts with the Dodgers. And it's just, they parallel each other for me. Because, you got an outfield and a first baseman for each of them. You can really stack up one against the other and argue back and forth. Obviously, we're just talking about Acuña and Freeman right now. But I don't know. I don't think that you could take Freeman away from that team and it would have any more of an impact than if you took Acuña away from the Braves. I think I disagree with you on that point, but that's also intangible. That's not what they're going to be talking about come season's end. Ronald Acuña is an outfielder, and that's a more valuable position than first base. Freeman this way, like first baseman, it's very hard for first baseman to win MVP because, obviously Goldschmidt did it last year, but that's because he was far and away the best offensive player. I think if Acuña, oh God bless you. I think if Acuña or any other outfielder for that matter was hitting as well as Goldschmidt was last year, then they probably would have taken MVP ahead of him because outfield is just a much more valuable position.
Yeah, outfield's a much more valuable position. I'll give you that. If we go back to the lineup point, Acuña is followed by Albies, Riley, and then the National League leader in home runs. Freeman is followed by JD Martinez, who's having a great year, but is nowhere near the caliber of a hitter of a Riley or
an Albies. I would say sure. I don't know. JD Martinez has been
he's having a great
consistently
year.
One of the best hitters.
All right, and then we got Ahmed Rosario or Max Muncy, who's hitting under 200.
For Rosario.
Or Chris Taylor. The Braves have a better lineup than the Dodgers. I think it's almost.
Sure, top to bottom, yes, the Braves have a better lineup than the Dodgers, but why does that detract from Acuña's?
Because we're talking about the value. The value, that's what most valuable player. Freddie Freeman's got 12 more doubles than Acuña. He's right on pace for home runs. He's driven in 13 more guys. I think he's, just as good of a hitter.
Well,
he's hitting highest. He's got a higher
bats at the top of the lineup.
Okay, but he's got a
batting
well then. Okay, then that gives him a lot more opportunities for stolen bases. So it goes both ways.
You're telling me if Freddie Freeman was batting leadoff, he'd have...
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if Ronald Acuña wasn't batting leadoff, sure, he had more RBIs, but he'd have less stolen bases. The on-base percentage is the same. Freddie Freeman's got him by 15 points in slugging percentage, 14 points in OPS.
What about walks to strikeouts?
Yeah, okay. Acuña's got him there.
Yeah, and that's valuable to me.
That is valuable.
How many more walks does he have? And I know for a fact that Freeman's been intentionally walked 8 times this season, so Acuña's 2.
Okay, he's got more walks. He got 6 more walks.
He's got a better eye. He strikes out less, which is crazy because Acuña at one point was a guy who struck out a lot.
Yeah, Acuña's cut the strikeout percentage in half this year.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
It's really impressive.
It is. I'm not here to argue that Ronald Acuña is not having an incredible...
obviously they're both having...
They're having incredible years. To go back to the All-Star break thing, Freddie Freeman, last 28 games, got hitting .421, on-base percentage of 505. The OPS is 1255. It's what this guy is doing...
Since the All-Star break?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got him beat by about 150 points.
Okay, but you can't sleep on a 370 average and 580 slug.
No, I'm not sleeping on it. Once again, it's just 50 points higher in batting average.
It's cumulative, though. It's not just second half.
It is. The second half that Freddie Freeman is having is unbelievable. And I think my larger argument here is, and it's come back to earth. It's evened out the last few weeks, but we were just dismissing Freddie Freeman's MVP case until about 3 weeks ago. The guy's having an unbelievable year. He's right on pace with Ronald Acuña. He's just as good of a player. And I think it is ironic. These are the two guys...
He's just as good of a hitter.
Just as good of a hitter. Sure, I think he's a better hitter. This season, it's just as even, but over the course of his career, he's definitely been...
We're not talking about career. He's also had a much
longer
career.
You asked if he's a better hitter. You asked if he's a better hitter. I don't think he is. You said he's a better hitter. I said not true. I mean, both these guys are incredible. It is ironic when Freddie Freeman, correct me if I'm wrong, when Freddie Freeman left Atlanta, wasn't there beef between Acuña?
There was alleged beef. It was squashed or no.
Usually when there's alleged beef, that means there is beef and they just don't want it to get out. But it is pretty ironic. I mean, the years these two guys are having is just ridiculous. But I mean, Freddie Freeman, if you just went down the category, look, I'll go through it right now. Every major category at bats, runs, hits, singles, doubles, triples, home runs, RBIs, batting average, on base, slugging, on base, like OBS or OPS. OBS. IBS. Do you think either of these two guys is IBS?
What kind of question is that?
Answer. Yes or no.
Would that decide?
You don't have to.
Would that help decide who's going to win?
No, you don't have to go specifically who you think it is. Just yes or no.
I would say yes. One of these players.
Wrong. That's wrong. Freddie Freeman.
Gastroenterologist. Dr. Noah.
You're putting words in my mouth. He's putting words in my mouth.
You just said you were very sure that neither of these men have IBS. How could you be sure of that?
I just said no. I said no.
You're not a doctor. You're not a psychic. How could you possibly know that?
I didn't say I was very sure. We can go back. I said, do you think either?
You sounded very confident.
Do you think either? So did you. You said the words were going off as yes or no.
Statistically, I don't know if 1 in every 2 people have.
Are you looking that up?
IBS prevalency.
Look it up.
In the U.S. Actually, that's not fair because Acuña is not. Neither of them are from America, actually.
Yeah, Freddie Freeman is Canadian.
10 to 15% of the people in the United States have IBS, and it's much more common in women. Okay, maybe neither of them have IBS, but I'm not going to tell you that definitively.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to DM them both after this.
Okay, I'm sure they'll respond to you. They wouldn't respond even if you asked them a nice question. Ronald Acuña is -60. If we're going at odds, -1,600 to win MVP. Freddie Freeman is +1,000. My main argument is that's ridiculous. It should be a lot closer.
I agree.
Than that.
It should be closer.
It should be a lot. They are having the same caliber of year. It is the media and the start that Ronald Acuña got off to, and the overall talent of the Braves that is making this a much wider race than it should be. These guys are pretty much neck and neck, and the bottom line is whoever probably, in my opinion, has the better, last 2 months of the year should win it. And at this point, if I had to wager who's going to have the better last 2 months of the year, it would be Freddie Freeman.
I don't know about that. I don't have any real reason to believe. It's not like Acuña has fallen off in any way or his play has gotten worse. If anything, he's gotten better in the second half. We're comparing the second halves between Acuña and Freeman, but since Acuña is ahead going into the second half, and he's only gotten better since the second half has begun, I just don't think there's enough room for Freeman to catch up. And a lot of it does come down to media and coverage and star power and promotion. As much as we don't want to say that stuff doesn't matter, you got to remember who's voting on these people. It's the Baseball Writers Association of America. They're writing about these players. You're going to tell me there's no bias in awards voting at the end of the season? That's total BS. Even me, Ronald Acuña has made honorable 3 times to Freddie Freeman's 2 this season.
Nice segue from, crooked media to that.
Exactly. But anyway, I don't know. My final point that I want to make here is that I was looking at clutch ratings too, because we're talking about value. There's nothing more valuable than being a good hitter in the clutch. Freddie Freeman's a below average hitter in the clutch this season. Do you realize that? Baseball Reference cluch rating has him at a -1.1.
What's the Baseball Reference definition of clutch? Because
I'll tell you.
Because to me, no regular season game from the Atlanta Braves or the Los Angeles Dodgers this year should even fall into the category of clutch.
It's basically win probability added on a similar scale to WAR.
In a situation, close game, late game. I'm just saying this isn't real clutch. The regular season, these two teams have it so made that they're making the playoffs and they're the 1 and 2 seed no matter what they do. So I don't think that really matters. But yeah, I mean, Ronald Acuña is having an unbelievable year. He is. I'm not going to say he's not. So is Freddie Freeman. And Freddie Freeman's been better in a lot of categories.
It's win probability added divided by the leverage index of their at-bats.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
The leverage index does not matter in the regular season to these teams.
I don't agree with that. We're talking about value. We're breaking it down in terms of value. Freddie Freeman, according to this formula, has been not a good hitter in the clutch this season, and Acuña has been above average.
What's that say down there?
Where?
091. against each other.
That's in head-to-head.
Those are the
games.
clutchest games. Those are the most important.
Are you kidding me?
Those are the most important games in the regular season. The very first
explain
the
to them
Dodgers.
what you're seeing at least.
Okay, Ronald Acuña is batting .091 versus the Dodgers this year. Freddie Freeman is batting .385.
It's in 3 games. There's 11 at-bats.
How many clutch at-bats do you think they've had this year? 25?
I don't know, man. It doesn't tell me that. No. 506. It takes all of their plate appearances into account. Because it's, the leverage index of their average.
Oh, okay. So
Their
they're saying he's a good hitter in the first inning. Well, okay. I don't care about that stat.
Whatever. I think Ronald Acuña is in a more valuable position, hits in more valuable spots, more homers, way more stolen bases. Stolen bases are important. We're glossing over the fact that he has all of these stolen bases, and that's putting himself in a situation to score runs for his team. That's value right there. I mean, I don't think that Freeman's close enough to really close the gap at this point, unless Acuña were to completely fall off or unfortunately get injured. I think it's his to lose.
Well, my closing argument is this: Freddie Freeman's got a higher WRC plus. He's got a higher OPS too. Incredibly important statistics. He's got a higher batting average. He's got a higher slugging percentage. He's hit more doubles. He's got the most doubles in the history of the Dodgers franchise since 1900. Before August.
Congratulations.
I mean, he's having an incredible year. They're having a neck-and-neck year, and whoever has the last 2 months is going to win. Has a better last 2 months, should win it, in my opinion.
These 2 teams play each other much the rest of the season? Probably
Doesn't even matter. They're the 1 and 2 seed.
They might play one more time. Who knows? All right, well, let us know what you think. Shoot us DM. Let us know who you think is on top.
Can I add another criteria? If I was in a fight, who would I more want on my side? It would be Ronald Acuña.
That's an interesting thing to bring up, actually, because that's strangely what I wanted to talk about.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was actually that exact same thing. Did you have the same thought that I had?
I think we had the same thought.
I'm
thinking about fights after.
I've been thinking about fights a lot.
Down goes Anderson.
Down goes Ramirez. No,
It's
5 seconds
Anderson.
before we started recording.
I was talking about something else.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Your good friend Gerald Ramirez?
Yeah, I don't want to get into it. It's pretty personal.
We're gonna have a little draft time here, a little drafty draft. And we are going to be drafting the players that we would not want to have in our corner in a fist fight. This is obviously in light of the recent event between Jose Ramirez and Tim Anderson. I don't think Jose Ramirez...
Down goes Anderson.
They all know. They've heard it. I don't think Jose Ramirez is going to be taken in this draft. He's probably, after what happened up there in top guys.
He's definitely not going to take it in this draft.
No, this is strictly players you do not want to have joining you in a fight. You're going behind the alley at the bar, duking it out with a couple of frat bros. Who are you calling on your speed dial? You have every MLB player in your speed dial. Who are the last players you would call to come back you up in that fight? That's how we're going to do this today. I think we need to start with the rock, paper, scissors to decide who drafts first. Let's just go 5. Let's go.
5?
Yeah, five players. Let's go. We don't need to go into great detail on each one.
Okay.
But I think I have enough here that I'd like to do 5.
All right, let's do 5.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Fuck!
All right.
I'm 0 for 2.
With the first pick, I think this would be your first pick too. I think this is a unanimous pick. You have to take Jose Altuve. You have to take Jose Altuve. He is so short. I have no faith that he could beat anyone up.
Yeah.
And he's a cheater. I would feel morally wrong, fighting somebody with a cheater on my side.
No, I agree with you.
Hit, like nut tapping you, He just I don't trust the guy, and he's short and he's small and he could get beat up by an average citizen. So I'm taking Jose Altuve number 1.
Every swing would be an uppercut.
Exactly, and if he's fighting like Yuri Wembanyama, 4th straight episode, if he's fighting Yuri Wembanyama, he's not reaching, and you're right. He could get stepped on too. So I wouldn't want him fighting with me.
That's fair.
If I had the opportunity to fight with a Major League Baseball player, I'm taking a physical specimen. I'm not taking
absolutely
an average Joe.
No, I agree.
An average Jose. Just add the S.
Okay. He was on my list, not my number 1. My number 1, if I had the first pick, thank you for taking Altuve, because I I don't see it could take anybody other than Tim Anderson at this point. Tim Anderson.
Small sample size.
With my
he was ready to square up. Not many guys in the league. I'm going to stick up for Tim Anderson. There are not many guys in the league who would have squared up, and for that, I want him in my corner. Even if he got hit with a vicious shot, that's Jose Ramirez. You know, we're not. If he's fighting somebody else, he's probably not getting hit in the face.
I don't even know. I just think that he got rocked so hard by that punch that he wouldn't even remember how to square up at this point. Well, he was stumbling off the field.
Speaking of not remembering how to square up, he didn't remember how to square up initially. He squared up lefty. He's a righty.
Southpaw. Oh, he plays on the south side. I think he was.
Oh, you got a little confused. Yeah, I think so. But he squared up lefty.
Yeah.
Which is maybe an argument to have him. It's an argument for your side, but
either way. You know, obvious reasons here. He got clocked. He got cleaned. He got floored. Insert other word that would make sense here. And the thing is, now that everybody's
dusted.
Everybody.
That's another word.
Dusted. Yeah, that's a good one. Now that everybody's seen Tim Anderson get the living daylight beat out of him, I feel like that's just added to the anti-TA narrative. And anybody who I'm fighting in a back alley behind a bar is going to also want to beat the crap out of Tim Anderson. It's going to fuel them.
I couldn't disagree more. Tim Anderson is going to have something to prove next time he gets in the fight.
You think there's going to be a next time?
If there is a next time.
God, I hope there's a next time.
I hope. What if there's a round two? They could go pay-per-view. Ramirez.
Honestly, I wouldn't even...
Down goes Anderson.
You gotta stop that.
I'm going to get one more in.
Okay, hear me out real quick before we move on to our next pick. What do you think of the MLB capitalizing on this opportunity, similar to how YouTubers have begun boxing each other?
Well, I'm not a promoter of violence, so I wouldn't like it.
Of course not. I do not promote, so I don't condone violence.
Exactly. Violence is just a result of other violence. Kids. But that would be awesome.
Aside from it being violent and a terrible reputation is set for the young generation of America.
Well, I would stream it illegally. I wouldn't watch it. I wouldn't pay for it, but I would stream it illegally just like the YouTube.
We went from you being like a DARE program ambassador 15 seconds ago.
I don't support violence. I don't think that's a hot take.
And condoning
but I'll watch
piracy.
it if it happens.
Condoning piracy. That's
how about I just got an alert from YouTube. That's so creepy.
That's really creepy.
They're listening.
Is it Jake Paul?
No, it's Larry David. It's Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's a recommended scene. I'm gonna watch it later.
I bet you will.
I've already seen it if it's a Curb scene.
Anyway, piracy is where I draw the line. That's completely unacceptable behavior in my opinion, and I think I'm gonna have to reevaluate where you stand in my life as both a podcast host and a friend.
Okay.
And an upstanding citizen.
Maybe we should fight about it, and you'll take Jose Altuve, and I'll take Tim Anderson, and we'll see what happens. All right, my number two pick. He's a high pick in everything. It's Mookie Betts, and my.
You took him from me.
Oh, there we go.
What's funny? Did you get the alert earlier today on Betts talking about the scandal? Because it was after I made my list, and he literally just. I'll let you say. It's just like Mookie's take on MLB Brawl. Quote, I'm just not made like
Well,
that.
I knew it. I didn't see it, but I knew it. And the reason is Mookie Betts strikes me as a pacifist.
Absolutely.
He's not throwing a punch. He's leaving me out there to dry. He'll stand in his morals. Good for him. He doesn't support violence like me. And therefore I'm not taking him. He's too much of a pacifist. He's too good of a guy. I don't think he would support me. I don't think he would throw a punch. And if he did, he doesn't have a lot of practice because he's such a pacifist. He's my number two pick.
No, Mookie's the type of guy who I would want there to witness the fight because he'd be the first person on the phone with emergency services calling to report an incident, a disruption. I agree with you. I'll make my next pick in a second, but he's just way too calm, way too even-keeled. He wears a fedora. Anyone who wears a fedora is just not the type of person. It's completely useless to me in this situation. He's just too nice. I would not want Mookie Betts either. That was a really great pick. I gotta hand that one to you. I think my next one is. I think I'm really happy with my next one actually, though. I'll let you have Betts because I'm taking Javier Baez. Javier Baez, he swings wildly. He can't make contact. He's one of the richest people in Detroit, so he's completely not in touch with the fighting scene in that city.
Fair.
I would not want Javier Baez in my corner. He'd go out there. He'd be throwing hands,
swinging wildly,
completely swinging wildly. He wouldn't hit anything. He couldn't hit a beach ball if it was thrown at him. He couldn't hit. What's something else that's big? He couldn't hit
volleyball.
Oh, he couldn't. That's smaller than a beach ball. He couldn't hit a watermelon. Javier Baez.
You didn't ask bigger than a beach ball. You just said what's something else that's big.
Out of every big thing you possibly could have named, you thought of a volleyball?
You accepted watermelon, which is like a similar size.
I would say watermelon is significantly larger than a volleyball.
No,
At least
no.
any respectable watermelon that I've
Are we
ever seen.
talking? We're not talking weight. We're talking size.
No, we're talking
No, they're pretty similar.
volume.
All right, let's look it up.
What are we looking up?
Size of average watermelon. Well, of course. What a dumb question.
Javier Baez is my next pick.
16 inches long, 10 inches in diameter.
I don't know. That's like a little too big for me. I think I'd prefer like a 3-inch watermelon. That's why I like
Diameter
blueberries.
volleyball's about 8.5 inches.
It's significantly smaller than a watermelon.
And about can we get a
I don't know if the people
length
would be
of a
interested in
volleyball? Length of average volleyball.
this. We really need somebody like looking.
How long is a volleyball
How
game?
long is a volleyball?
On average, a volleyball game lasts between 60 to 90 minutes,
Irrelevant information.
depending on the
Completely irrelevant
amount of
information.
sets played. Okay, come on.
I gave you my pick.
All right,
Javier
number two,
Baez.
Javier Baez.
Swings wildly, can't make contact.
All right, fair pick. He does swing wildly, and he does miss a lot. My third pick was in the news today. I'm taking Shane McClanahan. And I'm taking Shane McClanahan because one punch, and he'd go down, and he's out for the year, and he'd get injured again. And he's right back to the IL.
Bad.
It's true. It's true. He would get injured. I'm just thinking rationally. Shane McClanahan, he can't survive like 4 baseball starts, so he's not surviving a fight. Consistently, always injured. Why would a fight be any different? Why would a physical contest be any different? I'm just rationally, logistically, it's not somebody I want on my side because I think I'm going to be a man down.
I mean, that's valid. I think you're doing him dirty by taking him in this draft, but as far as competition goes, as a competitor, I have to respect the pick.
Thank you.
My next pick for me, I'm going to be short and sweet with this one, is Reese McGuire. And simply
no.
You know what I'm going to say.
Of course. Why else would you bring up that name? It's not for his baseball career. It's not for his baseball career, I'll tell you that.
I've been waiting.
Oh my God.
I've been waiting. I've been waiting to say this all episode.
Oh my God. Don't headbutt the microphone. We know, you don't even have to say it. You don't have to say the joke.
I want to say it.
Okay.
It's because he's too busy beating his meat to beat anybody up. Oh, the lead up to that was way funnier than the execution. Oh my God. Okay, Reese McGuire. Sorry.
Just one sentence.
Oh
Short
my God.
and sweet. Like Reese McGuire.
The shortest.
That could mean 2 different things.
That was really good. Okay.
That's your third pick.
That's my third pick.
Collect yourself.
Okay.
All right, Reese McGuire. I love, the multitude of reasons we go for these selections. It could go any which way. We could call someone a pacifist, or we could say they masturbate too much. So,
Oh goodness.
my fourth pick, Max Scherzer. I'm picking Max Scherzer because I think he's going to give up on me. We've seen this.
Oh boy.
We saw this in the 2021 playoffs, and I'm certainly not a
Max.
I'm not a bitter Dodger fan.
No.
He gave up on the Dodgers. Their rotation was
He's a bitter
decimated.
Dodgers fan.
What?
He's a bitter Dodgers fan.
I am a bitter Dodger fan, and he gave up. He did it again when he got traded from the Mets. I just thought about this. He did it again. He threw him right under the bus. He would give up on me. He's a selfish individual, and I think he wouldn't fight because he'd be worried. He wouldn't stick up for his friend. He'd be worried about getting injured. He gave up on the 2021 Dodgers. I think they could have won a World Series if he did not, or at least have beaten the Braves in that NLCS. I'm not bitter at all, but he's a quitter. I don't want quitters.
I'm not bitter at all.
I don't.
Bitter thing that
I don't want quitters in my corner.
I
Just like I don't want pacifists.
I'm going to take a different old pitcher with my next pick. With number 4, the number 4 pick in this draft, I'm going with Zach Greinke. It's just too much of a wild card for me. It could go really well. It could go really badly, but the guy's just straight up weird. I don't know what I'm going to get. I think I would be scared personally if I bring him to a fight. I don't know what he's going to be thinking. He could try to beat me up. it could be anything from that or him just like sitting down in the middle of the fight. I don't know what I'm going to get from Zach Greinke. He's too unpredictable.
He's a weirdo.
He's too strange. He's a very strange man. I like him. Very talented pitcher. I think he's been fun to watch over the course of his career, but I wouldn't want him in a fight.
That's fair. I don't hate that pick. I don't know what he would do. He's another guy who might be a pacifist.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah, I could see that.
In a different way than
in a different
as a
way.
pacifist.
In a weirder way.
Yes.
In a weirder way, for sure.
I'm not going to beat anybody up, but if I see a rabbit hopping around my backyard, I'm going to pick it up with my bare hands and eat it raw type of way.
That's not what I was thinking. I know that. I've never thought that thought.
About Zach Greinke?
About anybody.
I don't know.
In general.
I can think of...
I think he would be so nurturing to that rabbit. I think he would pick it up and just start petting it, and then
I think we have different perceptions of Zach Greinke.
And then I think they would become friends, and the rabbit might just come back every day. He'd let it roam, then it would come back at a certain time, and Zach would feed it every day, and they'd kind of develop a close bond.
It's weirdly romantic.
Well, it's nice. He seems like a nice guy who cares about, animals and peace.
Regardless, I don't want him fighting with him.
No, it's an argument for your side.
Thank you.
All right, my fifth and final pick. I think this is a sleeper. I think this is good value at this point in the draft. It's Giancarlo Stanton.
Ooh, I was gonna take him. If we were doing the opposite, I would have taken him.
You would think it's the opposite, but the thing is, if we get into a fight, it's probably what's the scenario in which one of us gets into a fight?
I mean, I've been doing this under the pretense that we're at a bar.
Exactly. So we're not in a boxing ring, in a closed space where you can only move so far. The thing about a fight is it could have movement involved. And he is the slowest dude I've ever seen in my entire life. If we're throwing punches and then we're moving 5 feet to the left, he's out of the fight. That's too far. 5 feet, he's not catching up. He's too slow. He'd be there in about 10 seconds, doing this.
It's fair, but you think he's
massive,
still,
but he's immobile.
Someone's gonna have to.
He's immobile.
I don't know.
If he was fighting me, I would just get away from him. Excuse me. Down goes Anderson.
Oh, shut up!
That's my team. Can I just run through it quickly?
No, I gotta do my fifth.
Altuve,
Premature.
Mookie Betts, Shane McClanahan, Max Scherzer, Giancarlo Stanton. That'd be a pretty good baseball team.
Probably better than my baseball team because I've got Tim Anderson.
Because you have
Javier Baez,
and Reese McGuire,
Zach Greinke. Actually, my last pick is going to be the star of this hypothetical baseball team. It's Ha-Seong Kim, and I think this is probably my best pick. I just feel bad dragging my sweet, precious Ha-Seong into this. If anything happened to him, I don't think I'd ever be able to forgive myself. He's just such a.
Seems like a nice guy.
Sweet, innocent-seeming man. Just flawless hair, giving BTS vibes.
I'm just making sure you're still there.
No, I'd feel terrible if anything happened to Ha-Seong Kim and his blood was on my hands.
He seems like a nice guy. I mean,
I don't want to take away completely from his value in a fight because I think if he needed to turn it on, he could probably go rabid. However, I wouldn't want to be there. I wouldn't want to be the reason to A, corrupt him in that way, or B, that he got hurt. So that's my pick. That wraps things up. We're at perfect time right now. We're an hour. Ooh. So
all right. Well, I think this is good. Good. I think my team would. Actually, I was gonna say I think my team would beat the shit out of your team. I think my team would get the shit beaten out of it by your team.
I would not disagree with you actually. So does that mean you had a better draft?
That means I had a better draft. You just admitted I had a better draft.
But I had fun. I definitely
did
had
have a good time.
So there we go. That's the episode. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back in 2 with another episode. We got some fun stuff planned for that one.
20 through 11 on our best positioned MLB franchises.
Yes, sir. And we came up with a fun game. The next immaculate grid, if you will. So follow on Instagram if you're not already, although I don't know where the hell else you'd be from, @TheWorstMLB. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you very soon.